be completely honest, to give you my, the first thoughts that popped into my mind was Josh Hawley is a and he ran like.
Well, when you put it that way, retired Capitol Police Officer Michael Fanone was one of the roughly 150 officers from the Capitol Police, the Metropolitan Police Department, and local agencies that were injured on January 6th. Yesterday's hearing made crystal clear that the #1 priority for Donald Trump on that day was protecting the mob that hurled racist slurs, called for the assassination of the vice president, and looked to murder other members of Congress. And joining me now is Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn, who was also at the Capitol on January 6th. And Officer Dunn, it always is good to see you. And I saw you and Officer Fanone and others in the hearing room every day. We can see during the beginning that you guys are there. And I'm just wondering, I want to let you look at a piece of what was played last night and just get your response to it. Take a look.
Murtaugh said, also not to have acknowledged the death of the Capitol Police officer. Wolking responded, that's enraging to me. Everything he said about supporting law enforcement was a lie. To which Murtaugh replied, you know what this is, of course? If he acknowledged the dead cop, he'd be implicitly faulting the mob. And he won't do that because they're his people. And he would also be close to acknowledging that what he lit at the rally got out of control.
That is in regard to Officer Sicknick, whose partner, Sandra Garza, has also been there every day. I wonder how that struck you, that when Donald Trump finally gave his statements about the insurrection, he didn't mention Officer Sicknick. He didn't mention any of the officers who defended the Capitol.
Hey, Joy, it's good to be on with you. The first thing that stood out with that statement right there is the line that said, the dead cop. That just stuck out with me. His name is Brian Sicknick, and his mother, his father, his brother was in that room, his partner, Sandra. And to refer to him as a dead cop, I don't know why, that stuck with me. So I had to go back and actually read the statement today or late last night. And I don't know who those gentlemen were having those texts. I'm not a political guy or, as much up as I guess others are. But they're 100% right. That old back to blue stuff is just rhetoric, and people use it to throw it out there because it sounds cool. It sounds cliche. It's something you could put on a T-shirt, something you can put in a tagline of a Twitter profile. It just sounds good, right? But the actions of it is what matters, and not just the rhetoric. And that's what so many people are full of. It's just rhetoric and just talking. Show me your actions, whatever. Anytime I hear that back to blue stuff, I think you're full of it.
And the thing is that some of the people who were as part of that mob were law enforcement. The Oath Keepers deliberately recruit among current and former law enforcement officers. The Proud Boys, they have been relatively friendly with law enforcement or treated in a friendly way by law enforcement. Was there something of a shock, do you think, by the department, by your leadership, that people who are perceived to, as you say, back the blue or to be pro-police became violent against police? Do you think that was part of the disconnect in the response time by your leadership?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't really speak on what our leadership was thinking or doing or the reasons why. I do, you're 100% right that a lot of those individuals there were former military, were former law enforcement. They told us that their words out of their own mouth, hey, stand with us. Daniel Hodges testified that they were trying to recruit him to actively join him, put down his shield and stand on the side with them. Like, they were actively trying to recruit them. One of in the testimony, during the hearing yesterday, there was they played Oath Keepers audio, and they said that Trump said, hey, the Capitol Police, leave them alone. And they were like, oh, okay, but it didn't say anything about the congressman. Right. So they were trying to be nice to us. That's the way they put it, but that didn't happen, but it doesn't surprise me though. The guys said they were here to help us. They were there to support us as they're beating our ass, to put it frankly,
Yeah.
How does that work?
You mentioned lawmakers. Josh Hawley was getting the business pretty much all last night and today for putting a fist up to the insurrectionists and then running from them. What do you make of him and other members of the House and Senate who at this point are defending what happened, defending the insurrection? He's still defending his actions.
Yeah, I can appreciate a good meme, and they had some pretty funny sound clips that were attached to it. But as far as his actions and everything like that, people are entitled to their opinion, and I'm not going to speak too much about the senator. However, I will. He's a senator. He represents a population of a state, and you just have to look at that. That's what he represents. People are out there that are lying about it. It's just frankly call a spade a spade. It's a lie. And if you're defending that in other words, and people create other alternative narratives instead of addressing the facts that are right in front of your face. There's no getting around that Donald Trump incited it. There's no getting around that it was violent. There's no getting around that they were armed. And people knew about it, and they were there with the purpose of stopping the certification of the election. That's it. You can't debate that with me.
Yeah. And lastly, you still, work as a Capitol Police officer. Do these members apologize? Do they say anything to you? Those who were on the insurrectionist side, do they address it ever?
I when I do my job, I really just do it as I'm doing my job. It's business as usual. I don't, get into it. A lot of the things that I'm doing now, I do in my spare time. It's my personal time. When I'm on the job, it's about defending these members. I had a member come up to me yesterday, middle of the week. I didn't know if it was a Democrat, Republican, and they just said, "Hey, I thank you for your service. You're amazing." I don't know. I didn't really ask, but I appreciate it. I'm not doing anything for any recognition. I'm doing my speaking out and doing my job, one, because it's the right thing to do, and the speaking out to get accountability and justice. Anybody who has anything to do with the failures of that day, including the president, needs to be held accountable, period.
Well, I thank you, and I think everybody who's watching right now thanks you for your service and what you did. You all saved our Capitol, and you saved our democracy that day and put your bodies on the line for us. So thank you. We appreciate you. And Officer Harry Dunn.